Hello, and welcome. Thank you for joining me for a moment of quiet reflection, a story that might just linger in the corners of your mind long after it's told. Today, we're stepping into the subtle, sometimes unsettling world where a child's imagination brushes against something less explainable. It's a story about innocence, a parent's love, and a creature who hops on 2 feet. Our story begins, as many do, with art. The kind of art only a 5-year-old can create, vibrant, uninhibited, and profoundly honest. For Sarah and Mark, this art often came in the form of their daughter Lily's drawings. Their refrigerator door was a gallery of her universe. Suns with smiling faces, stick figure representations of their family, and, almost always, a very particular rabbit. Lily called him Mr. Nibbles. Now, you might think, a pet bunny, how lovely. But here's where Mr. Nibbles deviated from the norm. He wasn't a fluffy 4-legged creature nibbling on carrots in a hutch. No. Lily's Mr. Nibbles stood upright on 2 remarkably human-like feet. He had distinct 5-fingered hands, often holding a tiny, intricate teacup or a miniature umbrella. His eyes, in Lily's artistic rendition, were large and curiously knowing. He looked, to put it mildly, more like a person wearing a bunny suit than an actual bunny. Sarah and Mark found it endearing. "Oh, Lily's imagination is just boundless," Sarah would chuckle, pinning up a new masterpiece where Mr. Nibbles was depicted riding a bicycle. Mark would nod, perhaps a little too quickly, and comment on Lily's developing fine motor skills. They saw it as the beautiful, untamed creativity of a child, shaping the world to her unique vision. They'd never owned a bunny, never even considered it. Mr. Nibbles was purely a figment of Lily's rich inner life, or so they thought. As the months passed, Mr. Nibbles became a permanent fixture in Lily's narrative. He was her best friend, her secret keeper. She'd recount elaborate tales of their adventures, tea parties in the garden, trips to the moon, quiet conversations under the old oak tree in their backyard. The stories were charming, even enchanting, but occasionally, a detail would surface that pricked at Sarah's calm. One evening, as Sarah tucked Lily into bed, Lily looked up with wide, earnest eyes. "Mr. Nibbles misses our old house, Mommy," she whispered, her voice laced with genuine sadness. Sarah paused, her hand mid-tuck. "Old house, sweetie? Mr. Nibbles lives in your imagination, remember?" Lily shook her head slowly. "No, he used to live with us in the yellow house before we moved here." Sarah dismissed it gently. Just a child's vivid dreams weaving with reality, she told herself. But a small, almost imperceptible seed of unease was planted. Then came another comment a few weeks later. Lily was drawing Mr. Nibbles again, this time with a worried expression on his hand-holding face. "He's still looking for us," Lily murmured, more to herself than to her father, who was sitting beside her. Mark, busy helping her color a cloud, barely registered it at first. "Looking for us, Bug? Who?" Lily just shrugged, continuing to meticulously color Mr. Nibbles' tiny white paws. It was just a child's language, he reasoned, perhaps meaning Mr. Nibbles was looking for new adventures with them. But the phrasing, "looking for us," it felt subtly off. Life continued, a tapestry of school runs, playdates, and the familiar rhythm of family life. The drawings of Mr. Nibbles continued to accumulate, sometimes playful, sometimes with a peculiar melancholy. Sarah and Mark often exchanged glances over Lily's shoulder as she drew, a shared, unspoken question hanging in the air. Was this just a very, very elaborate imaginary friend, or was there something more to the persistent, 2-legged rabbit with human hands? They never voiced these deeper questions aloud, preferring to keep the comfortable illusion of childish innocence intact. Until one night. It was late, well past midnight. The house was utterly still, draped in the profound quiet that only a sleeping home can hold. Sarah and Mark lay in bed, drifting on the edge of sleep. Then a sound. A soft, distinct thump, thump, thump. It came from above them, the attic. They both froze, instantly awake. The sound was unmistakable, hopping. A rhythmic, deliberate hopping, moving from one side of the attic to the other, then back again. It wasn't the skittering of mice or the scratching of a squirrel. It was too heavy, too even. Mark slowly reached for Sarah's hand, squeezing it. Their eyes met in the darkness, wide with a shared, wordless question. The hopping continued, a steady, measured pace. Thump, thump, thump. "Should I?" Mark whispered, gesturing vaguely towards the door. Sarah nodded, her heart now thudding a matching rhythm against her ribs. Mark cautiously slipped out of bed, his bare feet silent on the floorboards. Sarah followed, her breath held tight in her chest. They tiptoed to the attic access, a pull-down ladder in the hallway ceiling. The hopping seemed to pause, then resume directly above them. Mark slowly reached up, his fingers brushing the pull cord. He hesitated, listening intently. The hopping stopped. Complete silence, the kind of silence that feels heavier than sound. They waited, straining to hear anything. Nothing. Not a rustle, not a creak. The attic was utterly silent. After a long moment, Mark slowly lowered his hand. "Probably just the house settling," he murmured, the explanation sounding hollow even to his own ears. Sarah nodded, but her gaze was still fixed on the ceiling. They decided to check on Lily. A parental instinct, perhaps, to ensure all was well after such a strange disturbance. They crept into her room. The nightlight cast a soft glow, illuminating the pile of stuffed animals at the foot of her bed. Lily was fast asleep, her breathing soft and even. Sarah moved to pull up the blanket, which had slipped down. As she leaned over, Lily stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, blinking slowly in the dim light. She looked directly at her parents, her gaze clear and unclouded by sleep. Then she spoke. Her voice was a barely audible whisper, a small, knowing sound that cut through the silence like a cold blade. "He found us again." Sarah froze, her hand still hovering over the blanket. Mark, standing just behind her, felt an icy dread crawl up his spine. Lily's eyes, wide and lucid, were fixed not on her parents, but somewhere beyond them, perhaps at the closed attic door, or just at the general presence of the house around them. Her words hung in the air, a chilling echo of her earlier innocent pronouncements. "He used to live with us in the yellow house. He's still looking for us." In that moment, the whimsical charm of Mr. Nibbles, the upright bunny with hands, evaporated. What remained was a profound, unsettling certainty. The hopping in the attic wasn't a house settling. It wasn't a rodent. It was something else. And Lily, our sweet, imaginative daughter, somehow knew it. They didn't sleep much that night. They held Lily closer than usual, watched over her with a quiet, fierce protectiveness. The next morning, the house was bright, filled with the usual sounds of breakfast and morning cartoons. The attic was silent. Lily drew a new picture of Mr. Nibbles, this time standing confidently in front of what looked unmistakably like their new house. He was smiling. Sarah and Mark never spoke of the incident directly, not to each other, and certainly not to Lily. But something had fundamentally shifted. The line between imagination and reality had blurred, perhaps even dissolved, leaving them with a quiet, ever-present vigilance. They still admired Lily's drawings, but now when they saw Mr. Nibbles with his knowing eyes and human hands, they looked a little longer, a little more thoughtfully. And sometimes, late at night, they found themselves listening for the sound of hopping just above their heads. Because when a child whispers, "He found us again," sometimes it's not just a child's imagination at play. Sometimes it's a quiet truth, a doorway to something we can't quite comprehend, but must acknowledge.